I had to bury my father, move, and start a new job all in about 10 days. And that was the summer. That was like in the springtime. Priests usually move in July. So as we kind of got going in the parish, and it was kind of tough, and at least I was honest with my people. I told them that when I got there. I didn't try to bluff them. I said, look, man, I'm a little out of it. It's not you. I had a tough week, and I did. As the week and month unfolded through the summer, we started planning for our fall. And I kind of got my book out. You start going through your dates and stuff and planning for the fall. And what I'd realized is I'd already booked off some time in November. And that's because it was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. My siblings and I had begun the process of planning for that event. Now, what do? Like, you're doing a 50th wedding anniversary, but someone's not going to be there. But my brothers there and my brothers at home both said the same thing. Well, come back. We'll have a dinner together. We'll be together as a family. It's not going to be the same kind of celebration, but I think it's important that we all get together. So that was the plan. And that was right around Remembrance Day. It was actually my parents' anniversary was the 12th of November. And I had booked a flight, and I was pretty much ready to go. It had been a rough kind of transition. The parish was going okay, but my heart still wasn't quite there yet. And I remember I got in a situation with a parishioner. Now, it's a long story. I'm not going to give you too many details. But the bottom line is I got a proper chewing out. Now, I've had people get mad at me before. That's kind of part of the job, and it happens from time to time. But this was a good one. This was a really good one. And there are times when people get so mad at you and so focused, like, okay, you absorb it, you absorb it, you absorb it. And I was trying to get to, is there any part of this that she could actually own up to? And she just didn't have any part of it. So it was a really rough day, and it was a really rough, because you couldn't get past it. And that happened just before I was supposed to fly home. And I just remember like getting on the plane and flying back towards Ottawa, and I'm asking myself this question. I'm saying, okay, why would I come back? Has anyone else had a bad day or a bad week or a bad month? And ask yourself the same question. Why am I going back? Who can do this? Now, normally you have an answer, don't you? Because this is my job, this is my vocation, things will get better. But on this particular flight and that particular moment, I didn't have that answer. And it was a little scary to me. I thought it would come eventually. I did have a return ticket. I just wasn't sure if I was going to use it. And I got off of the airport in Ottawa, and one of my friends was there, another priest, Brian Hennessy, if you know Brother Brian from Ottawa. He's a big bear of a guy, looks like an unmade bed, like he's just a mess. But he's a great guy. And everybody needs a Father Brian in their life. You know, it's like, what did you step in? Like, come here, buddy. Come, it's okay. You're going to be all right. He spent a little time with me, and we kind of commiserated a little bit. And the next day, the plan was he was going to loan me. He had an old truck, and he had a car. He was going to take the truck. I was going to take the car. I was going back to Kingston. He was going to stay here, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. What happened was he had a funeral he had to go to. And in the midst of all this kind of whirlwind decision-making, the battery was dead in the truck. He had to come back in and use the car. There wasn't any time. I had to stay. And he's doing all this as we're talking. He's pulling stuff out of his pockets. Told you his unmade bed. Like, it's just one of those things, a little bit chaotic. He finally leaves, and it's like a little swirl, and it's like, whew, like the dust starts to settle, right? Okay, I'm stuck where I am for the next 2 to 3 hours. I'm not in that big of a rush to get back to Kingston. Fine. I'll just do my prayer time. So I get a cup of coffee, and I'm walking around the kitchen, and what I see on the counter was what he'd pulled out of his pocket. He wasn't even thinking. He just pulled it out of his pocket. And that was the funeral card for my dad. So I looked down on the counter, and there's a picture of my father sitting there on the counter looking back at me. And it was like, okay, God, in all your omnipotent power and glory, you're using this to paint me into a corner and blow my categories. Like, I'm already beat up. I've had one of the worst days of my life in the parish. I'm stuck here out of my control, and you stick a picture of my dad up in front of me? Who can do this? Who is crazy enough to try to serve you? And that went into a kind of a prayer time that was, let's call it intense. Me and the Lord had to get a few things sorted out. But it was real. It's where I was. It's what I needed to say. And I just remember crying out to him and saying, I can't do this. Nobody can do this. Nobody can do this. And I honestly felt something kind of break in my heart, which is not always a bad thing. So after a little time to kind of pull it together and a little time of quiet, and again, I wouldn't feel alone or abandoned. I just didn't understand. What are you asking of me? I'll do it, but I don't understand how this gives you glory. I felt he said to me a word. And I don't get a lot of words. I don't get a whole lot of inner thoughts or things, but I think in this case, it seems fairly legitimate. So I felt he was saying this to me. I love you, I love you, I love you. I am not going to promise you some great glory in the future because you can't hear that right now. But it's true. What I'm asking of you is to stay at the foot of the cross when everybody else runs away. Only a fool would do this. Will you be my fool? Well, there it is. For the first time in my priesthood, I think I felt like I had a job description. Am I willing to stand at the foot of the cross when everybody else runs away? There's a cross behind me. Do you see how many people are at the foot of that cross? Traditionally, there's 3. I counted 2. There's Mary, Jesus' mother. There's John, disciple that Jesus loved. And usually Mary Magdalene is also there. They're not putting out chairs, right? There are no bleachers. Didn't have to expand the space. There wasn't a whole lot of people willing to stay at the foot of the cross. But when I look at our situation in our church, and we talked about this earlier, and some of the messes that we find ourselves in, it seems an apt description. To stay there and to be faithful. Are you willing to stay at the foot of the cross when everyone else runs away? Only a fool would do this. Will you be my fool? And it's really been a good thing for me. Like, I can't control this. I can't fix the church. I can't make it all better. If I could, I would have a long time ago. But I see in that a role, a prophetic role, in a culture that doesn't seem to understand anymore what transcendent goodness could look like. I want to try to cross into just another cultural reference here. Okay, I'll give you the whole thing about golf. You don't run into golf. Tell me you've at least watched the movies for the Lord of the Rings. Thank God. Okay. Has anyone actually managed to read the book? You're going to do just fine. Okay, that's good. Still consider it, I think between country and Western music, sailing analogies, and Lord of the Rings can explain most of life, okay? So that's my thing. And in my contract, I went over this with the leadership team, I get at least one Lord of the Rings reference in everything I do, okay? So I'm assuming most of you know the storyline. I want to ask you a question. Drawing from your extensive knowledge of Lord of the Rings, does good triumph in Lord of the Rings? The answer, does you say yes? Does it? Oh, there's a hesitation. So someone says yes. Is anyone else? Is there another option? I know there are happy hobbits at the end. Okay, so there seems to be good. But ask the question again. Does good triumph in Lord of the Rings? Okay, so we got a little synopsis here. You guys want to act it out? Sorry, what was it? I'm sorry, what's your first name? What's your first name? Ignatius. Okay, good. So come up here, Ignatius. Okay. So, just to be clear, which one are you? Are you Frodo or am I Gollum? Frodo. It probably makes sense to make him Frodo. Wouldn't you say? Okay, good. I'll be Gandalf. No, okay. Okay, so we need a brief plot synopsis.
Of the entire Lord of the Rings?
Not entire Lord of the Rings. No. The climatic scene of Lord of the Rings in which we're describing evil being defeated.
Okay, so you guys know how Frodo has to drop the ring in the Mount Doom to melt it down, right? So Frodo's about to do that, and then he snakes them all and actually puts the ring on because he succumbs to the power of Sauron. Right. Yeah, so after that, Gollum, who we thought was dead, makes a surprise reappearance, and yeah, he hops on Frodo and bites off the finger with the ring. There you go. So now Gollum has the ring, but the entire area is really unstable, so he falls. And then he falls into the lava, and he dies, and then the ring eventually also falls into the lava. And Frodo is just like, he failed. Nine-fingered Frodo. There we go. Oh, sure, there you go. You're welcome.
So, I ask you again, does good triumph in Lord of the Rings? No. It's a good answer. No, it doesn't. Here's the thing. The setup line for that happened in the mines when we first are encountering Gollum, the creature. And Frodo says, I wish Bilbo had killed him when he had the chance. And Gandalf, who is, again, the wisdom, says, many who are alive who deserve death, and some who are dead who deserve life. Do not be so quick to measure it out, for even the wisest cannot foresee. Okay, go. Okay, come on. Woo.